What's poppin', yo? There's a conspiracy theory going on around No Jumper that Flaco was the guy that was trying to get Almighty Suspect fired, who was just recently fired and was also now jailed. I talked about that in a previous video. The reason for that being is that there was a little bit of conflict, friction, a lot of clowning from Almighty Suspect on Flaco for a lot of, maybe the first 6 months that Almighty Suspect got there. But in this scenario, Remo, who has also criticized Flaco in the past, decides to defend him. However, it gets contentious later on.
Flaco was in a group chat trying to tell them niggas don't do it. I'm gonna give Flaco his credit. Usually,
telling who don't do it?
Lush.
Lush and who else?
Hey, everybody really Lush. I mean, he was telling everybody. Lush was in the group chat basically bragging to everybody about how he wants to put this together, and Flaco was the only person in the group chat like really saying like, nah,
who else was in the group chat? Remo?
So here Remo lets everybody know that Flaco was the only individual that said that Brandon and Almighty Suspect should not be in that same room, and Lush was trying to put it together because Flaco was the one that invited Brandon in the first place. So for those that are unfamiliar, I did a whole video on this too. It'll be in the pinned comment where I talk about this history of this Brandon individual who's now a recurring guest at No Jumper. I don't know if he's got an official position, but he was brought on there by Flaco. And Flaco couldn't make the show or something, so he ended up on there with Suspect. And then they got into it. And it was an unfortunate situation, but then they were brought back. And the time that they were brought back, Flaco said he didn't want that in the group chat. So Remo gives him credit here. However, Remo later on calls him out. Remo's another No Jumper host. He's been there for a while now, but he came after Flaco. So in this clip, he goes in on him. He's like, yo, hold on. Like, now you're saying like these guys are doing a gang war. Because keep in mind, Almighty Suspect got fired because of that event. And he's letting everyone know, no, Almighty Suspect did not get, or Flaco did not set him up to get fired because the event that got him fired, or that led to him choosing to take the actions that would lead to him being fired, Flaco was in opposition to. However, after that, the beef decided to take itself to the streets. And I covered that in another video where it's like No Jumper and they're beefing in the streets now. That'll be in the pinned comment as well. And Flaco was covering that. And in his coverage of that, he called it a gang war. Now, there is some lore here, but Flaco uses the term gang war a lot, which I think is actually like kind of crazy that he's been doing it for that long. Like, Flaco's a brave guy. I don't know if it's brave or dumb. Now, I don't think the guy's an idiot by any means. You don't get this. You can get this far by brute force and confidence, to be honest. So if you do think Flaco's dumb, it just goes to show you how far brute force and confidence can take you. But I really don't think the guy's like that dumb. But for him to be using like gang war in a place that's like gangland, and you're out there like commingling with these people on a consistent basis, but Remo calls him out, and this clip I'm gonna play you guys right now.
Because you made a video saying that this is gonna start a LA gang war.
No,
so these being your former hosts, former co-hosts, or one that's still a co-host with us right now. How do you feel that you're kind of like, you know, amping up the fire?
I push back on that narrative because I didn't say it's going to. Going to means I'm instigating.
Oh, you said it can start an LA gang war.
No,
you're like highlighting all the.
No, it has started.
All the bullshit.
It has started one?
No. Go into is instigate. It has, meaning it's already here. I'm just covering it. Like, I'm just reacting to what it's going to be.
Warring right now?
Sure. Well, wait though. So again, Brandon is from a gang. I'm gonna let you feel me. And let him tell y'all where he's from. The other person Brandon was with, they're apparently a gangbanger. I'm gonna let them tell y'all. And then Suspect is now pulling up, trying to engage, locating 2 active gangbangers. Well, not really. To me, if you're still in the gang, you are still active. But I guess you can be in a gang and not really do crime no more.
Yeah.
So they're not, okay, so they're
gang banging and gang members.
Yeah. They're not active crime participators, but they're still members of their gangs. So if Suspect is pulling up, hunting down 2 active gang members, well, that's a gang war, right? Like, y'all are engaged in street conflict with gangs.
So now they start arguing about like what a gang war is. And this really got me looking at Remo like, wow, this guy is very, very patient. And there's no way he's sitting here and not boiling on the inside, because I'm looking at it like, dog, do you know what a gang war is? It means these 2 sides are at war. It's not an individual, and this is important because these semantics are important because like, yeah, this one guy's in a gang and this guy's kind of affiliated with a gang and, you know, there are other members and they've got issues with each other. Yeah, those are individual issues. Like, for instance, if we've got an NBA player from the Knicks and we've got an NBA player from the Hornets, does that team still exist? I might be old, man. We've got a player from the Miami Heat. I know that team still exists. And they start fighting or they have issues and then they get into it. Is that like an NBA team war? No, it's not. Like the team doesn't sanction it. The coach doesn't sanction it. It's just those two individuals. Like a gang war is like, hey, we as not a nation, but we as a gang, we have problems with this other gang, and whoever you see that's on that side, you know, like go bang on him. That's what a gang war is. So I'm not getting gaslighted into taking any other definition at all. But then they go on and mention this guy who I just discovered named Rich Trapper in this following clip that I'm gonna play you guys.
Oh, so Rich Trapper?
Yo, bro, but y'all love to give niggas clout for some reason.
Bro, you making videos about the nigga, and then now it's like, bro,
but what is wrong with y'all? Like why
are you making videos about niggas
and then you're talking about him?
So what I've come to find out is that this guy, Rich Trapper's like Voldemort. Like they're not allowed to say his name, or maybe Flaco is not allowed to say his name. I think Adam22 maybe has an issue with the guy as well. I don't know the lore behind this guy, but he's like Voldemort. Flaco doesn't want to say the guy's name. And he was blurred in like all of Flaco's videos. And he was the guy that was with Brandon that was talking crazy about no jumper, etc. But then Flaco's like trying to pretend that he's not talking about him. And then in this next clip, it really gets frustrating. I'm going to play you guys that right now.
Require him to be blocked. No one's just
But yeah, y'all can't stop saying his name on these podcasts.
But you making videos talking about him though.
No.
You're making a video referencing him and then you're mad because we say his name. Rich Trapper.
Stop saying who? You don't know who we're talking about.
No, that's y'all boy. I don't know who you're talking about, but I'm saying
you're making videos about him.
No, I'm saying, right? This weird obsession with saying these people's names that nobody knows.
What did he do?
So they're calling out Flaco on his hypocrisy. They're like, hold on. You're telling us not to talk about this guy, that he's Voldemort, and we can't say his name, but you're making a video about the guy. And you're mentioning what the guy did and said in your video. And we're here talking about your video. So how are you telling us that we can't talk about somebody that the only reason we're mentioning him is because of content that you made? And I got to look at this and say, like, where did they say anything wrong? And then he just tries to like gaslight them. And yo, this is crazy. Because just because the guy blurred the name, like they know who the guy is. So they're like, oh, you're talking about this guy? He's like, yo, why are you giving this guy attention? Well, you gave him attention. Like just because if I'm talking about, yo, there's this guy that's Pyru. He always says Pyru, and he's a blood, and he manages the game, and he's into it with academics for this type of and then someone's like, yo, you're making a video about Wack 100. I'm like, yo, why are you saying that name? I didn't say that. You're like, yo, who else does that description fit? And it actually is the person. It's not I'm describing a situation or a person that just fits a similar description. That is the person. So yeah, you're talking about the person. But the gaslighting continues. So I'm gonna play you guys that clip.
Alluding to him in one of your videos, right?
But again, words mean something, okay? You make videos about him subliminally. Which videos did I make about him subliminally?
You're talking about him subliminally in the video that you uploaded yesterday.
Again, you make videos about him subliminally.
He just talking about him in a video.
He just gave you the example.
A video about somebody meaning they are the main topic of discussion, right?
See, no, you're moving the goalposts. He doesn't have to be the main topic.
How? He just told you.
He's just one of the people that you don't like, but he's becoming a character in your videos. He's a character in your videos that you make, but you don't want to name drop him.
If I make a video.
And now they're talking about like what constitutes a video being about somebody. So now what Flaco used to really separate or dilute the definition of a gang war and justify him using the term gang war, now he's saying that they can't say a video is about somebody because that person is not in the title and the thumbnail and they're blurred out. Although a lot of the content that's being made is talking about things that they said in conflict with somebody else. Now that is just outrageous. Like, yeah, that person is a subject. That person is a character. It's maybe not the main topic, but that person is a subject and a character. But the thing is here is that you're not going to get him to admit that. And this isn't the first time that Remo has called out Flaco. Like, there's this conflict or this rift between them that goes back, because Remo also called out Flaco in a previous video where he titled the video Wack 100 Checks No Jumper Host for asking loose cannon police questions. So Remo, and this is where the clip starts, and this is when the whole like Big U stuff first happened. So I'm gonna play you guys that initial clip.
Tokyo Tony basically said that she happy you locked up because she said that you tried to extort her out of 40,000. Or you did get it.
Black China Mama?
Yeah, Black China Mama, yeah.
Yeah. Then she changed it and said that I stole it out of her purse or something, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's go to the fact where she don't even have 40,000. She got mad because she was trying to call me while I was with her daughter, and basically her daughter found out.
Wait, so Tokyo Tony was trying to holla at Smash while you was dealing with Black China?
Yeah. We was all living together. So
word.
She was always upset at that. But then the crazy part about it is when she gets into it, and we were doing my reality TV show, she wanted to come on the TV show and bash China for me.
If this was a regular interview, nothing wrong with the question, nothing wrong with the answer. But it's not a regular interview. Loose Cannon is currently in federal custody. Loose Cannon may have a superseded indictment coming. And this extortion could very well be in that indictment. The feds is still investigating, bro. And let's just say Loose Cannon is charged with the extortion of Tokyo Tony. Now, I believe Loose Cannon is telling the truth, but let's just say this, the feds find information, that Loose Cannon and Tokyo Tony did exchange $40,000. Now, the statement you made on No Jumper while in federal custody, that's being recorded as well. Now, that statement is, she's lying about everything. She only wanted to smash me. That's why she's lying about 40,000. So when it does come out that 40,000 was exchanged, and you want to say, oh no, she gave it to me willingly, well, then your defense is sort of handicapped because you already spoke on No Jumper. And even if Loose Cannon wanted to speak on that situation, we understand, man, that sometimes you have to protect people from themselves.
So Remo's on here talking to Loose Cannon, who wanted to call into the show, and he's asking him questions. And then, Flaco presents this first clip. And then Remo goes in on Flaco. And the next day, when they're on the podcast, he's like, yo, hold on. What are you doing right here? So I'm going to play. And he's like, you're trying to spread this narrative about me that I'm asking police questions. So I'm going to play you guys that clip right now.
Flaco clickbait. He on that just clickbaiting it like, the first thing Remo asks him about is extorting Tokyo Tony. It's like, he literally text saying that's what he wanted to talk about. So Flaco got a whole narrative trying to flip it and shit. But I'm on your because
it's kind of like seeing Almighty Suspect there on the couch is kind of like a relic now that the guy's unfortunately locked up. But here you can see that there's consistency in what Remo is calling out. In this situation, Remo's like, yo, you can't be pushing this narrative that because I'm talking to the person and I'm asking them questions on a topic that they wanted to talk about. So they're ceding it to him. And then Flaco was trying to say in his video that's like, yo, you got to protect people from themselves. However, Flaco's always saying like, yo, if they're gang members and if they're causing chaos and this and that, like they should be locked up. So there is this conflict between Remo and Flaco that is consistent, I think. And it's not like Remo's a gang member that we know of, and he's from Mississippi, which is, Mississippi's such gutter. Did you guys know that Mississippi is the poorest state in all of America? Now, obviously, there's rich people in Mississippi. How did they get that wealth? Who knows? But yeah, Mississippi is really, really gutter. I think the only thing to ever come out of Mississippi that we can recall is Ugly God, and now Remo. Actually, Tupelo's in Mississippi, right? So Ray Shremmerd came out of there too. So okay, we got three different people that came. Well, four different people that came out of Mississippi. This isn't to down anybody from Mississippi, but it's just to demonstrate that Remo comes from an environment that is very, very poor, a state that's very, very poor, but he's not a gang member that is opposing Flaco. He's just like a reasonable guy that is coming at Flaco from a reasonable perspective. And he's doing it multiple times. Now, this is the thing where there is an element to exaggerating. Yes, I will say that. But what can the ramifications be of exaggerating is, I think, something that Flaco needs to consider, especially if it's like coworkers. Like that's the thing too, where it's like, yo, what's the line? Are you just strictly coworkers with the people that you're on the couch with, and it's F them after? Or not F them, but it's like, hey, listen, we got to get the content. Or are you cool with their coworkers, and then you really can't position them in a certain way that makes them look in a light that is negative and can put a stain on their name? The same thing with like the whole gang war thing. It's like, I don't necessarily think it's instigating. I've always said, I think it's a crazy title, because like, yo, a gang war is one of the like biggest things that could happen. Like, bodies are dropping left and right. It's dangerous. It's almost as if saying like, yo, it's like World War III, right? It's like, yo, Trump just like shook hands, or like he bypassed like the Ukrainian guy, or Zelensky. Like, yo, that's going to start World War III. You're like, dog, do you know what World War III is? And then Flaco sits there and tells you, okay, so you're telling me if there's conflict between like one country and another country, and they've got nuclear weapons, like that's not World War III? And then he's just gonna like try to gaslight you for the like 2 minutes after that. I'm like, yo, what the hell are we talking about here? So I'm interested to see how this develops. I like that there's contrast though, because you can't have a crew where everybody's agreeing, and I think Remo presents it in such a good way where he's going back and forth, but it's just content, and it's not going to get violent. It's not going to get physical, and who cares? Maybe Remo hates Flaco behind the scenes, and that doesn't matter, because if everybody just has the same take on a podcast, it doesn't really hit the same. At that point, it just becomes like you've kind of got characters in this world now, and there needs to be some sort of discussion that isn't just, oh yeah, you know, you're right, yeah, I agree, and there's some different perspectives here. So I do think like the gaslighting by Flaco is great content, but there's no way that the problem with it is though that I don't think he's just doing it for content. I think he believes what he's saying, and he's trying to convince these people and actually gaslight them, which is like, yo, it's not gonna work. You gotta up your gaslighting skills if you're trying to work that out. But let me know what y'all think in the comments. Like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell if you enjoyed. And I'm going to see you on the next one.